There's a kind of love that doesn't scream, doesn't show off, and doesn't need to be posted online to feel real. It's quiet. It's consistent. It moves like a shadow beside you, steady, soft, and always there, even when you're too distracted to notice it. It's the kind of love that doesn't just say, "I love you." It shows it in small, almost invisible ways, not with flowers or flashy gifts, but with instincts, with protection, with presence. You don't ask for it. You don't have to, because he's already watching. Not in a controlling way, but in a deeply caring one. He watches the way you flinch when someone interrupts you. He hears the silence in your voice when you say you're fine. He remembers the things you didn't think were important. And without making you feel like a burden, he just acts. He changes the plan when you're overwhelmed. He pays attention when others talk down to you. He gently steps in when you're uncomfortable. Not to save you, but to stand beside you. This is what real protection looks like in love. It's not always a dramatic rescue. Sometimes it's him walking on the side of traffic without saying a word. Sometimes it's a 10 p.m. text. Did you get home safe? Sometimes it's just him reaching for your hand when the room gets too loud. These moments may feel small, but they carry the weight of someone who's chosen to care about you at your most unspoken levels. You see, love isn't always about grand gestures. Real love is in the details, the subtle shifts, the way someone rearranges their world, even slightly, to make yours a little softer, a little safer. It's when someone doesn't just listen to your words, but listens to your silences too. So if you've ever wondered whether he really cares, look closer, not at what he says, but what he does when you're tired, when you're nervous, when you're hurting. Because if he's doing these things without being asked, without expecting praise, then you found something rare. A man who protects not with walls or warnings, but with attention, gentleness, and love that holds you even when it's quiet. And that's the kind of love that lasts. 1. He walks on the side of traffic when you're on the street. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't make a big deal out of it. But every time you're walking together down the street, you'll find him subtly switching places, placing himself between you and the traffic. It seems small, maybe even unnecessary, but it's his instinct. He wants to shield you. It's not about showing off or proving something. It's about silent care, about protection without needing recognition. This little move says so much more than words ever could. It tells you he's alert, thoughtful, and already thinking 2 steps ahead about your safety. It's something many won't notice, but those who felt truly cared for will. It's a habit that comes from a place of responsibility, of wanting to be your quiet shield in a world that doesn't always slow down for anyone. Maybe he saw his father do it. Or maybe no one ever taught him. It just comes naturally when he's with someone he deeply values. The sidewalk shuffle might look like nothing to someone else, but it's everything to someone who's been unprotected before. It's not just about the cars. It's about the message. If something were to come at you, I'd rather it come at me first. This kind of quiet love is rare. It's not loud, not dramatic, and certainly not something he'll bring up in conversation. But it's real. It's in the way he's aware of your surroundings. It's in his body language, how he positions himself. He's telling you without saying it. Your safety matters more than my comfort. That's what makes it beautiful. Because true protection isn't just about grand gestures. Sometimes it's a quiet shift in footsteps on a busy street. And if you've ever experienced this kind of love, you'll know those are the moments that stay with you the longest. 2. He texts to check if you got home safely. It might come hours after the night ends. A short message. Maybe just a simple, "Did you get home okay?" But behind that small text lies something deeper: concern, care, and quiet protection. He's not trying to be controlling. He's not checking up on you for attention. He just wants to know you're safe. Because once you've walked out of his sight, a part of him is still with you, following you all the way home in his thoughts. It doesn't matter if it was a casual coffee meetup, a late-night dinner, or just a long phone call while you were out. He remembers. He pays attention. And when he sends that message, it's his way of wrapping a blanket around you from miles away. It says, even when you're not near me, I'm thinking about your well-being. Some people think gestures have to be big to mean something. But if you've ever been left wondering whether someone truly cared, you know the weight that a simple message like this can carry. It's not about being romantic. It's about being responsible with your heart. It's about showing up in moments that matter, even when he's not physically there. This kind of text might not make it to the highlight reel of your relationship. No one will write poems about it. But you will remember the peace it brings. The quiet comfort of knowing someone cares enough to pause their world and check in on yours. That's how love often works. It speaks in whispers, not shouts. Because when a man makes it a habit to check that you got home safe, he's telling you something powerful. You matter. Your safety matters. And I'll always want to make sure the world didn't take anything from you before you walked through your door. That kind of care is rare. And it's everything. 3. He notices your mood changes and adjusts his behavior. He doesn't need you to spell it out. You don't have to say, I'm not okay, because he already knows. He's noticed the slight shift in your tone, the silence between your usual sentences, the way your eyes didn't light up like they usually do. Maybe you smiled, but it didn't reach your eyes. And without making a scene, he adjusts. He softens his words. He listens more. He becomes a little more gentle, a little less demanding. If he had plans to joke or tease, he holds back. If he was going to talk about his day, he pauses and asks about yours first. Sometimes he won't even say anything at all. He'll just sit with you, giving you the space to feel whatever you're feeling, without forcing you to explain. This kind of awareness doesn't come from trying to impress you. It comes from truly seeing you, from studying your emotional language, from caring enough to learn what joy looks like on your face and what sadness hides behind your smile. He adjusts, not because he's trying to avoid a fight or because he's walking on eggshells, but because he respects your inner world. In a world full of people who are too distracted to notice anything but their own emotions, a man who senses your energy shift and responds with empathy is a rare kind of protector. He's not just protecting you physically, he's protecting your heart, your mind, your peace. He's telling you, I see you, I feel you, I'm here, even in the silence. You may not even realize how much he's doing for you in those moments, but you feel it. You feel the safety, the warmth, the unspoken comfort of someone who doesn't need instructions to care, he just does. And over time, you realize that love like this isn't loud. It's sensitive. It's quiet. But it changes everything. 4. He keeps you away from people or situations that make you uncomfortable. He doesn't need a long conversation or a dramatic scene to understand when something or someone makes you uneasy. He reads your body language, senses the shift in your energy, and quietly steps in. Maybe it's the way your smile fades when a certain person walks into the room. Maybe your hand grips his arm just a little tighter in a crowded space. Or maybe your voice drops when someone asks a question that hits too close. And that's all he needs to act. He might guide the conversation in another direction. He might place himself between you and the person who makes you anxious. Or he might simply say, let's get out of here, without asking for an explanation. Not because you're weak. Not because he thinks you can't handle it, but because he respects your comfort more than the need to stay polite or social. He doesn't wait for you to ask. He just moves. You won't always notice it in the moment, but later, when you think back, you'll realize how often he shielded you without fanfare. He never made you feel small or overreactive. He never questioned why you didn't like a certain situation. He just knew and protected you from it. That's what real care looks like. It's quiet, intentional, and deeply rooted in empathy. It's not about being controlling. It's about being attentive, about choosing your emotional safety over convenience or appearances. When someone loves you in this way, they become your safe zone in a world that often overlooks discomfort. They pay attention to the invisible things, the things you hide out of habit. And without making it obvious, they remove the weight before it crushes you. That's not just love. That's protection wrapped in presence. And it means more than you'll ever need to say. 5. He remembers your allergies or triggers without being told twice. It might seem like a small thing, but when he remembers your allergies, sensitivities, or emotional triggers without needing to be reminded, it shows something big. He listens, he cares, and he takes you seriously. Maybe it's the way he quietly asks the waiter if there's any shellfish in the dish you're about to order, even before you say a word. Or how he avoids lighting that specific scented candle because he remembered you once mentioned it gives you headaches. Maybe he never brings up that one topic you told him makes you feel uneasy. Not because you made a big deal out of it, but because he paid attention the first time you said it. This kind of care isn't flashy. It's not loud or dramatic, but it's deeply protective. It's the kind of love that says, I value your well-being more than temporary comfort or convenience. He doesn't treat your boundaries like obstacles. He treats them like roadmaps to understanding you, keeping you safe, and earning your trust. People often underestimate the power of being remembered, especially when it comes to pain or discomfort. But when someone holds onto that information, it means they're holding onto you. Not just the happy, easy parts, but the vulnerable ones too. It means they want to protect you from anything that might harm you, physically, mentally, or emotionally. You won't always notice when he's doing it. He won't always make a show of it. But he's watching, learning, adjusting. Because he doesn't need to be told twice when something matters to you. Once was enough. And that tells you everything you need to know about the kind of love he gives. Quiet, detailed, protective, and very, very real. 6. He takes mental notes of who's been unkind to you. He may smile and stay polite, but he notices. Every time someone talks down to you, ignores you, or makes you feel small, he sees it. He doesn't forget the way your face changed when that friend made a backhanded comment. He remembers who didn't show up when you needed support. He doesn't need drama or confrontation to register that something's off. Instead, he files it away, silently, carefully. He's the type of person who watches how others treat you when you're at your most vulnerable. And even if you choose to forgive or brush it off with a laugh, he doesn't. Not because he's trying to hold a grudge, but because he's trying to protect you from walking back into the same hurt. He won't always say something out loud. He might never bring it up unless you do. But his actions shift. He becomes more protective around certain people, less trusting, more watchful. He may subtly pull you away from a conversation or keep his distance from someone who once dismissed you. It's not pettiness. It's loyalty. This kind of protection isn't about causing conflict. It's about creating a quiet shield between you and anything, or anyone, that doesn't treat you the way you deserve. Because he sees you fully. He knows your heart. And when others don't, it bothers him more than he lets on. He won't start fights. He won't make scenes. But he'll remember. And he'll act on it when it matters most. When you need someone who has your back, even in silence. That's the kind of protection that doesn't need a spotlight. It just needs love. 7. He silently pays attention when someone talks down to you. He might not interrupt, he might not raise his voice, but the moment someone talks down to you, his eyes change, his posture stiffens, and though he stays quiet, his attention sharpens completely. He's no longer casually observing the room. Now, he's watching everything. Because even if you're laughing it off or trying to stay polite, he knows what just happened. And it doesn't sit right with him. He won't embarrass you by jumping into a heated argument, especially if you're trying to keep the peace. But internally, he's already made a mental note of how that person treated you. He saw the condescending tone, the subtle disrespect, the little jabs disguised as jokes. And even if no one else noticed, he did. Sometimes, his protection isn't loud or reactive. Sometimes it's in the way he simply looks at you afterward to make sure you're okay. Or how he reaches for your hand a little tighter, walks a bit closer, or offers a small comforting gesture. Sometimes he won't speak until later, when you're alone, and he quietly says, "That didn't sit right with me." That's his way of showing you. He sees you, respects you, and isn't blind to the way others treat you. This kind of protection comes from deep respect. He knows you're strong enough to stand up for yourself, but he also knows that doesn't mean you should always have to. So he watches. He waits. And if needed, he'll step in. But only when it's best for you. He doesn't need to dominate the moment to prove he cares. His silence is never indifference, it's strategy. Because love doesn't always speak loudly. Sometimes it just listens, very, very carefully. 8. He stands closer to you in public spaces. In crowded rooms, busy streets, or unfamiliar places, he naturally finds himself standing just a little closer to you. It's not forced, he doesn't even think twice about it. But there's something in him, protective, instinctual, that wants to create a quiet barrier between you and the rest of the world. When a stranger walks by too close, he shifts slightly, so they brush past him instead of you. In a loud room, he leans in, making sure you don't have to shout to be heard. When you're walking through a crowd, he positions himself where he can see everything, and where nothing gets to you without passing through him first. It's not about dominance. It's not about showing off. It's about presence. It's his way of saying, "You're not alone here. I'm here, and I'm watching." He doesn't draw attention to it. He won't ask if you're scared or uncomfortable, because he already senses it. Instead, his nearness becomes a silent comfort. You feel safer without having to explain why. You don't have to say, "Can you stay close?" He's already doing it. Even his touch changes in those moments. A hand on your back, a shoulder brushing yours, fingers reaching for yours in a sea of people. It's quiet, respectful protection, not smothering, not possessive, just deeply aware. It's in these little moments, unspoken and unnoticed by everyone else, where love often lives. Because standing closer isn't just physical, it's emotional, it's protective. And when someone positions themselves beside you like that, in the loud chaos of the world, what they're really saying is, "I see you, I've got you, and I'm not letting anything come between us." 9. He changes plans when he senses you're tired or overwhelmed. He doesn't need you to say, "I'm exhausted." He doesn't wait for you to break down or cancel the day. He simply watches. The way your eyes slow down, your shoulders sink, your voice fades. And without making it a big deal, he shifts the plan. Maybe you had dinner reservations. Maybe you were supposed to meet friends. Maybe you had a whole list of errands to do together. But if he sees that you're not fully present, that something in you is just trying to push through, he steps in gently. He says, "Let's just order in." Or, "How about we stay in tonight?" Not to disappoint you, but to protect your peace. He does it in a way that doesn't make you feel guilty. He doesn't shame you for needing rest. He doesn't say, "You look tired," like it's a flaw. He just rewrites the day with your comfort in mind, as if you were always the priority. This kind of behavior shows emotional intelligence, the kind of care that doesn't need permission to act kindly. He's tuned in, not just to your words, but to your energy. He knows you give a lot to everyone else, and sometimes you won't say no for your own sake. So he says it for you. Not to take control, but to take care. You may not always notice it. You might even resist at first, insisting you're fine. But later, when you're lying quietly with a blanket over you and his hand resting near yours, you'll realize something. He didn't need a reason to choose your peace over a plan. He just did. Because when someone truly cares, your well-being becomes the only plan that matters. 10. He takes blame or distracts when you're about to be embarrassed. It happens in a flash. A small mistake, a stumble in your words, a spilled drink, or a moment that could easily turn into something everyone laughs at. You feel the heat rush to your face. The room seems a little louder. All eyes are on you. And just before the weight of embarrassment can fully land, he steps in. Maybe he makes a joke about himself. Maybe he exaggerates his own clumsiness to shift attention. Maybe he laughs louder, not at you, but with you, just enough to diffuse the tension. Or maybe he smoothly says, "That was my fault," even when it clearly wasn't. Because in that split second, his priority isn't what happened. It's how you feel. He doesn't do it to impress anyone. He doesn't do it to seem heroic. He does it because he knows what it's like to feel exposed. He senses when you're about to shrink, and instead, he expands the moment until it feels safe again, like a shield made of timing and compassion. Sometimes you'll notice it right away. Other times, it won't hit you until later, that he subtly, selflessly took the fall so you wouldn't have to, that he swallowed the awkwardness, redirected the spotlight, and gave you space to breathe again. It's a quiet kind of protection, the kind that says you never have to stand in discomfort alone. And even though it might seem like a small thing to others, to you it means everything, because when someone guards your dignity like that, in public, in private, without ever making you feel less, they're not just protecting you from a moment, they're protecting your heart. And that's what real love does. 11. He keeps potentially hurtful news away until the right moment. He doesn't lie. He doesn't hide things out of fear. But when it comes to protecting your heart, he's thoughtful, deeply thoughtful, about when and how he delivers news that could hurt you. He understands timing. He knows that not every truth needs to hit you at full force when you're already struggling. So if he hears something that might upset you, maybe a rumor, a change of plans, or something stressful that isn't urgent, he pauses. He checks in with where you are emotionally first. He waits for a moment when you're grounded, when you're not already overwhelmed, when he can hold space for the impact it might have. It's not manipulation, it's maturity. He's not trying to protect himself, and he's trying to protect you. He wants to honor your peace, not shatter it carelessly. And when he does share it, he does it gently. He sits down beside you, looks you in the eye, and delivers it with softness, never coldness. He's calm, steady, and ready to support you through whatever your reaction might be. Because it's not just the news that matters to him, it's how you experience it. This is the kind of protection that isn't obvious. It won't show up in pictures or love letters. But it's the reason you'll feel safe with him, even when the world isn't. Because he doesn't just think about what's true, he thinks about what's kind. And that kind of emotional safety is rare, sacred, and unforgettable. 12. He steps in when others interrupt or dismiss you. You're mid-sentence, sharing a thought or a story, and suddenly, someone talks over you. Maybe it's a loud interruption, maybe a subtle dismissal masked as a joke. For a split second, you hesitate. Do you keep talking? Do you shrink back like so many times before? But before you even decide, he steps in. He might say, "Hold on, she was speaking." Or he may turn back to you with full attention and say, "What were you saying?" Sometimes it's not even words. It's his eye contact, his posture, the way he leans in to keep the focus on you. It's powerful, even when it's quiet. He doesn't let you get erased, not because he wants to create drama or make a scene, but because he sees you. And he knows that being constantly interrupted or brushed aside wears on a person, especially when it's subtle, constant, and accepted. He refuses to let your voice be background noise. That's what makes it so protective. He's not rescuing you. He's amplifying you. He doesn't speak for you. He makes sure you're heard. He creates space for your thoughts, your feelings, your presence to land fully in the room. And over time, you realize how much that matters. You begin to feel safer, more grounded, less anxious about being invisible. Because you know, without a doubt, that when your voice gets lost in the crowd, he'll help bring it back. Not because you're weak, but because he honors your strength. And that, right there, is love without ego. It's quiet strength standing beside you saying, "What you say matters. I see you, and I won't let the world talk over you." 13. He lets you vent, then handles the issue behind the scenes. You come home upset. Maybe you're angry. Maybe you're hurt. You start venting about a rude co-worker, a frustrating situation, or a small injustice that hit a little too hard. He listens. He doesn't interrupt. He doesn't try to fix it right away. He gives you the space to let it out, to speak freely, to breathe. You expect him to just nod, maybe offer sympathy or a few comforting words. But what you don't always see is what happens afterward. While you're calming down, while you've moved on to something else, he's thinking, processing, strategizing. And quietly, without turning your pain into a performance, he starts finding ways to fix it. For real. Maybe he makes a call. Maybe he speaks to the person who disrespected you. Maybe he steps in to help you out at work or covers something you were stressed about. He doesn't announce it. He doesn't say, "Look what I did for you." He just takes care of it. Quietly, thoughtfully, respectfully. This kind of protection is rare. It doesn't look like grand romantic gestures. It looks like a man who pays attention. A man who doesn't just want to hear your pain, he wants to ease it. And not just by saying, "That sucks," but by saying, "You shouldn't have to carry this alone. Let me take some of the weight." He's not trying to control your life. He's not trying to solve problems you don't want solved. He's just being there, not only emotionally, but actively. And you'll realize it over time, when things quietly stop going wrong, when situations shift, when people start treating you better and you don't know why. But he does. That's not just love. That's advocacy. That's someone who stands behind you so silently that you never even notice the battle, only the peace that follows. 14. He warns you gently before you trust the wrong person. He doesn't make demands. He doesn't issue ultimatums. But when he senses that someone in your life might not have the right intentions, he quietly pays attention and gently lets you know. Not with drama, not with accusations, but with care. Maybe he says, "Just keep your eyes open around her." Or, "I don't want to judge too fast, but something about him feels off. Please be careful." It's not jealousy. It's not control. It's instinct, sharpened by love. And his only goal is to protect you, not from living your life, but from getting hurt when you don't have to. He knows you're smart. He trusts your judgment. But he also knows how kind you are, how you give people the benefit of the doubt, even when they don't deserve it. And while he doesn't want to cloud your decisions, he also doesn't want to stay silent if he sees warning signs you might miss. So he chooses a middle ground, gentle honesty. He lets you know what he sees but never forces you to act. He respects your choices while still making sure you're not walking into something blindly. And most of the time, he's right. Later, when the truth comes out and someone's mask finally slips, you'll remember what he said. You'll look back and realize he wasn't trying to be difficult. He was trying to be your shield in the softest way possible. Because real protection doesn't come from locking you away or controlling your friendships. It comes from warning you with love and letting you decide, while standing nearby, ready to catch you if it falls apart. That kind of man doesn't need to say, "I told you so." He only needs you to know, "I'll always have your back," even when it's hard to say the thing you may not want to hear. 15. He supports your boundaries even when you don't enforce them yourself. Sometimes you let things slide. You laugh off uncomfortable moments. You say, "It's fine," when deep down, it's not. Maybe it's because you're trying to keep the peace. Maybe you're afraid of being seen as difficult. Or maybe you're just tired of always having to defend your own space. And that's when he steps in, gently, respectfully, and without ever making you feel small. He notices when someone crosses a line you've drawn, even if you don't call it out. He sees the way your eyes flicker, the silence you fall into, or the way your body tenses. He doesn't wait for you to explain it. He just knows. And without making a scene, he backs you up. Maybe he changes the subject when someone gets too personal. Maybe he sets a clear boundary with a friend or family member who doesn't respect yours. Maybe he just moves you out of a space that doesn't feel emotionally safe. Whatever he does, it's always done with quiet strength, never embarrassing you, never taking over, just reinforcing what you deserve. He doesn't need you to fight for your worth in every moment. He does it with you, for you. Not because you can't, but because love is about standing with someone, not watching them stand alone. And over time, this kind of protection builds something deeper. Trust. You start to realize that with him, you don't have to be constantly on guard. You don't have to over-explain your discomfort or push yourself to tolerate things that hurt you, because he already sees you. He already honors what you need, even when you hesitate to ask for it. That's not just love. That's emotional safety. That's the kind of man who doesn't just respect your boundaries. He helps uphold them, even when you're too tired, too soft, or too forgiving to do it yourself.